Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Kaga. So yeah, I promised you a battleship replay that, well, I also promised you something other than Japanese cruisers, and hell, this is definitely neither of those. Okay, so we're looking at a subscriber here. This is Wo9, although I will occasionally pronounce it as WolQ. Well, reasons I can talk about that in a little bit. So this is the Tier 9 American battleship, the Iowa. And, you know, if there was ever a reason to grind through the really crap low-tier American battleships, it would be to get this ship. This is the iconic battleship in my mind. And I do hope to go through it and get to that point sometime during my World of Warships tenure. Hopefully that will be sooner rather than later. Wyoming, why do you frustrate me so? So, as we can see here, the WolQ is divvied up with an Atlanta, and you might first be tempted to think this was a bit more of a failed division of sorts. But there's actually a pretty good reason for this. The Atlanta is absolutely withering in its barrage. It's a AA capable cruiser, and you know what? It's a nimble little ship that can go from intermediate distance from a friendly battleship to close range fairly quickly. And that gives it the advantage that the Atlanta player can screen for destroyers at a given moment, and then at the first sign of air attack be right beside the allied battleship to help fend off that air attack. So again, what is a failed division is kind of it's subjective, but I don't see it that way in this case, because, you know, maybe it's mistiered, but you know what, it does actually make sense. Now, granted, it doesn't have the AA potential of, like, a Baltimore, but Tier 7 to Tier 9, that's a different story altogether. You shouldn't expect that. And while the Baltimore would have more AA, it's not as nimble a ship. It's not as fast a responding ship. And certainly, if you're being forced to escort somebody, I don't think it'd be as much fun. But enough about the Atlanta here. We're here to look about this beautiful ship that is the Iowa. And right off the bat, it has these very usable 16-inch or 406mm guns mounted in 3 turrets. There's 9 guns in total, so 3 guns per turret. It's glorious. Now, you might be tempted to bring all of them to bear and on a particular target, and sometimes you can do that, and that's got to do with it has pretty good range right out of the box, 21.2 kilometers. You can upgrade the fire controls to get it to 23.3 kilometer range, and you can further upgrade it with that gunfire control system modification 2, I believe, that increases the range by 16%. So you can really get the punishment out there at a distance where you can actually ponder taking the shot from the rear turret and then be able to evade some incoming fire, because the Iowa is, while it's not as nimble as a cruiser, it certainly is not a sluggish ship. It's not a particularly slow ship either, like the Izumo can appear to be. So now, its agility and can be put to use in many ways. You can be that flanker, or you can be the tactician. Now, more people like playing the flanking style, and it doesn't really matter what ship you look at. That's probably what more people think of as fun gameplay. But we're going to see WolQ show us what the tactician might do with the Iowa and its ability, as he takes up position here in this cluster of islands and starts putting both the speed, the mass, and the responsiveness or the relatively good responsiveness for a battleship in terms of the rudder, at frustrating the enemy's long-range shelling attempts and their torpedo attempts. And part of it is denying the enemy easy shots at you. And, most people would say that, well, you just don't go broadside onto them. And, that's generally the best advice you can give somebody. But you can also make use of these islands as solid cover. And I will stress that it is not concealment, because the difference between cover and concealment is that concealment only masks your presence, whereas cover can protect you from enemy fire. But that's another subject altogether. That's kind of a pet peeve of mine with a lot of YouTubers and live streamers messing that one up. But anyway, we're here to watch Battleship replay. We're not talking about theirs too much. And, you've seen nothing particularly special at this point. But we have the case that WolQ, or Wo9, depends on what you prefer, is making use of the tactic of reversing. And let's talk about why it works in this case. First off, he has pretty good cover to either side of his position against an enemy destroyer attack. It's not likely at this point. 2, the enemy aircraft carrier had already launched an attack, and it should be reclaiming his aircraft for the next minute or so, and then have to send them out again. So there's about 2-3 minutes of good solid protection here that he doesn't have to worry about. And as such, it means that if he needs to use this reverse to gain some room to maneuver, he can. And you did just see him plant a giant hit into an enemy cruiser a little bit ago. And it looks like he's targeted this Tirpitz. Piddly, right? Did pretty good there, but that was just 4 meh shots. Nothing that really makes people want to go out and play battleships. Alright. Now, things are getting interesting. You have an allied destroyer down south that's basically frisking over that enemy cluster of about 8 ships. And here we have Wool and Battleship Ra in the Atlanta, basically fending off this point here. And it looks like there's an allied cruiser trying to retreat along the border on the one line, and an allied battleship taking really big steps backwards, and it looks like the carrier is also doing this. So when it comes to the difference between an average battleship player and a good one, the good battleship player will more times than not be positioning him or herself in such a way that it best suits the deposition or deployment of the teammates around him. And it's unfortunate to lose the Atlanta at this point in the game. And ow! Ow! That poor Amagi. Ow! Almost 33,000 health gone in one hit. And that is the difference between a great battleship player and a fantastic battleship player, is being able to punish people, or should I say give RNG the best chances to punish people. That Amagi may have taken so much damage in that salvo that he's damaged in the next match. So with his div mate in the Atlanta now sunk, Woe has a few choices to make. One, he could try to venture turning around, because it looks like the enemy battleship threat is more or less focused in other areas, or two, he could start trying to move up to try to take up the slack in that position that was conceded to the opposing team when the Atlanta got hit. So it looks like Woe is decided to advance, and damn, that wasn't even a Citadel penetration. Holy crap, that's a lot of damage for a cruiser. And right now, I think that it's important to get that tangible sense of Woe's tactics here. And he just so happened to look over right at the moment that that enemy destroyer was spotted, so that's obviously going to be on his mind from this moment on. Granted, I think that destroyer has enemy, or not really enemy, but allied plane problems to deal with, and okay. We were gonna go forward, but all stop. Let's not give him any more damage than he already has picked up. Okay, now we've evaded that spread. Now we need to worry about the spread right in front of us. Okay, don't have enough momentum to deal with it, so we'll just take one on the cheek and just try to finish off this enemy cruiser. Hope the other one passes by, and I think that torpedo, if it gotten any closer, would have scratched the paint. Whoa. That torpedo was close. Alright. So, looks like the enemy cruiser was taken out by the Allied Colorado. Alright, that takes up some of the slack. And right now, it doesn't look like that Colorado is going to last much longer, so it doesn't behoove us to be that aggressive, especially with two enemy cruisers and a Tirpitz staring us down. And what in all likelihood is going to be a flurry of torpedoes in here. So we need to start being a little bit more aggressive, where the Woe is the only ally left on this front, and you might be a little curious as to why you might want to be aggressive in this case. The enemy fleet has been pretty well battered over the course of this engagement, and granted, Woe probably isn't much better off. But when you surrender the initiative in combat, you give the enemy choice. And right now, by being aggressive, he is removing that choice that the enemy has. They must react. A top-tier battleship is nothing that you're going to want to shrug off, and if it's advancing, you really want to deal with it. So, right now, just start taking notes on how Woe is making use of the island and maneuvering to maximize the chances that enemy torpedo salvos will miss, and at the same time maximize his own protection from return fire from this particular Tirpitz. And another important thing to note, he's not going to rush around the corner. So many people would rush around the corner. That is a very fatal mistake, because the Tirpitz has torpedoes, and he's only launched one of his two spreads. He's probably going to be coming around to try to get the second one off. So, in preparation for that, it behooves us to maximize the distance. That's right, we need to reverse out of here. Going forward isn't going to get us out of this situation. It's just going to get us into trouble, and turning around makes us broadside for the Tirpitz's front batteries. And it looks like the Allied carrier manages to pick up the kill. Unfortunately, if you look at the minimap, that is the final toll, or the final act of this particular carrier. All his planes are going to be rearming. We knew you well, carrier. We knew you well. Because at this point, that Hideyu is toast. A destroyer getting that close can only mean one thing, and yeah, you see how that one turned out. So right now, it's 3 versus 2. Both sides are battered. The it looks like this is I'm gonna take a wild guess. I can't really tell too much from this one, but it looks like that is an enemy Admiral Hipper. So yeah, we're gonna turn the other way right now, and again, this is to do with dealing with those torpedoes that we might be dealing with, and the fact that now Woe is the only allied vessel on this side of the map. He is the only one that can defend it. So that means that he either has to buy time for that allied cruiser, and there are the torpedoes. Again, this is one of those things with when it comes to steering your battleships, or even some of your heavy cruisers. If you're encountering a vessel which you know to have torpedo armaments, just assume that they've been fired. Just assume it. Don't wait to see it. Assume it. That's the safer route to do. It is the more surefire way to do it, and above all else, don't be predictable in your path. Being predictable is called being destroyer food. And right now you are seeing this Fubuki trying to actually do the right thing, which is to go head on until he makes one little tiny mistake, and the accuracy of Woe's guns obliterates him in the blink of an eye. Although I will tell you that that is a bit close. That is close. So right now, enemy destroyer threat has been dealt with. Let's see if we can finish off this enemy cruiser in a flash. Alright. And it looks like the Allies have managed to stay in that cap, so it wasn't completely necessary at this point. But, you know what? What's better than finishing on a cap? Finishing on a clean sweep. Come on. Come on, 16-inch shells. Connect. Boom! Done! So, I hope you enjoyed the first of our subscriber spotlights. That's right! I hope to do more of these in the future. Details will be posted at some point in the future as soon as I work out some of the details on how to do this more reliably. Well, particularly how to get the replays to me and, you know, all that jazz. So, again, thank you for having stuck with me for this interesting venture for the better part of 18 minutes. If you happen to like this video, please consider giving a like down below. If you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to the channel. Upcoming content includes some World of Tanks goodness, some in addition to today's War Thunder video, there's going to be some Armored Warfare later on this week, and hopefully we're going to resume with a little bit more regularity and scheduling specific things on specific days. I know this week with the weird double shot's been a little interesting. It's just that when I saw this particular replay, I had to feature it. I had to. The tangible sense of Woe's tactics through the entire span of play was just beautiful, start to finish. You could understand what he was doing, and then why it worked. And you could just see a level of execution that I wish more battleship captains had in World of Warships. So I hope that was insightful for you all. It certainly was an enlightening replay for me to watch, and trust me, I've watched it a few times at this point. So once again, thank you for having watched the video. Thank you, and good day.